Joining us now from West Newton, Massachusetts, Ambassador Nicholas Burns, who is Undersecretary of State for President George W. Bush. Sir, good to have you with us this morning. There's been so much talk about what's happening now, what's going to happen in the coming days. The president, as we heard from Chip, once again saying the U.S. will hand off the lead in just a matter of days. Yet, as we heard from David Martin earlier, clearly the U.S. is still leading the brunt of this. You said in an op-ed in the Boston Globe yesterday that, in fact, the U.S. has to lead. So which is it? Can we get out, or do we have to be in charge?
Well, first of all, Erica, I think that the United States did the right thing, the president did, by going into Benghazi last week, stopping a potential humanitarian disaster. That was in our best tradition and in our interest. It gets more complicated now because, as your correspondents have been saying, the U.S. has borne the brunt of the load, has had most of the action over the last couple of days. And the question is, can they find an arrangement where hopefully NATO can take over command and control of this operation, relieve the United States of that burden? And can the Europeans step up and do more? The Europeans were the ones who said that we had to go in here. They have the direct interest, the vital interest, Britain, France, Italy, Spain, and they ought to be doing more to help the United States. That's where the action is going to be over the next day or two.
And so you think it'll be in the next day or two that we see that shake out?
Well, I think that's the expectation of the White House. The president said that yesterday. And if that can be done, that might help stabilize this operation for the long term. I think, Erica, the larger problem here is that having had this very good initial set of results in stopping Gaddafi's forces outside of Benghazi and really giving more energy to the rebel alliance, what's the long-term strategy to actually get Gaddafi out of power? Because he's a brutal dictator. He's mistreated his own people, and there seems not to be much clarity on the mission going forward as to how that can be accomplished.
And that seems to be, there are two things at play here that I want to get you to touch on really quickly. Not only the fact there's been a lot of talk about the fact that the mission as a whole does not appear to be entirely clear, especially from a U.S. perspective. So talk about that briefly, and also, if you could, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton yesterday alluding to the fact that perhaps Gaddafi could be looking to go into exile. Is that even an option?
Well, on Secretary Clinton's comment, one would hope so. In the past, that's sometimes how the Arab world has dealt with their own authoritarian dictators, is they, someone goes into exile. That would be a good solution because it would give the Libyan people an opportunity to build a new future. I think in the first, Erica, there is a confusion about this mission because U.S. policy is that Gaddafi must go. UN policy is that the writ of the coalition doesn't extend that far. Once this situation is stabilized on command and control, I think the international community has to think hard about how to get Gaddafi out of power because he's certainly mistreating his own people.
Nicholas Burns, appreciate your insight this morning. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.